Okay.
What I'd like to know is Jody Brew has been posting a bunch of stuff. He's getting pictures of the job sites. How's he getting those? And it's like almost at the time.
Somebody's forwarding it to him or
Is
sending
he
it to him.
retired?
Yeah.
Retired, but he's like the official spokesperson for the water department. And now most of his stuff's been somewhat relevant.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just was like, because we did run into problems at one time when I think Lynn went and took pictures and they didn't have things properly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we just gotta make sure.
I remember the days.
We on? Yes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso workshop meeting scheduled for today, February 7, 2023 at 0800. The mayor is on an appointment that he couldn't be here this morning, so I'll be running the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Mayor Pro Tem Salas,
Here.
Councilor Jackson,
Here.
Councilor Letterman,
Here.
Councilor Hooker,
Here.
Councilor Coughlin,
I hear.
and I know Councilor Eby is here also.
Yes, I think he's getting a cup of coffee or
Yes.
something. First item on the agenda is discussion on lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Zia Therapy Center Z-Trans in the amount of $3,600 per year. Morning, Anthony.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council.
Morning.
So the lease agreement is for the usage of the office space there at the center. It's just 221 square foot, little office area, and they also use the parking lot for parking and all of that. And they also, if there's any meeting space needed in the center, they also utilize that. They use the office just pretty much for going into, clock in and stuff, and if they have any downtime, they'll stop and just kind of just have office area to just hang out and whatnot, but they're mostly out on the routes. So other than that, that's what that's for. The 3,600 is for 300 a month times the 12 is equals to 3,600.
Okay.
If there's any questions?
Yes, sir.
No, my only question, obviously you support this, you don't have any issue, it's not taken away from any space that you need or your facility needs?
Councilor Hooker, yeah, it doesn't take any space from us. It actually helps us out, gives us a little bit of funding to help out with center stuff like building maintenance and whatnot. But so they're not in the way at all. The buses are in the back area away from the building. They do have cameras monitoring those buses all the time. So, but yeah, so even the buses are out of the way, and it's no problem to have them there with us at all.
Excellent, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, members of the council, what I was wanting was Z-Trans representatives to provide an update on the transportation service here in Ruidoso, because we're getting a lot of calls that the routes aren't, they're on the routes, not on the routes. There's people waiting for the buses, so we wanted to make sure that we have them. If we could do this as a regular item, we can have them either on Zoom or have them in person. They can provide an update to the council.
That sounds like a good idea, because they did, during our strategic planning,
Yes.
workshop, they contacted you, right?
Yes.
Did you get to talk to Joe at all, any, or?
We invited him to be here, Mayor Pro Tem Salas, to be at this meeting, but he had an appointment already this morning, so I thought maybe somebody else would be on. But we just need to be able to have that information provided to us.
Well, let's definitely get them here at our next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll keep this on regular so we could have that discussion of
Yeah,
the,
I think so.
the
So-
purpose of why they're renting the space.
So Mayor Pro Tem Salas and Manager Sena, would that be, how did you want that shown on the agenda?
We could just have the same, just be discussion, possible action on the lease agreement, and then we can, at that time, they can provide an update on their transportation
So
services.
no, it's just specific wording of update on service.
I would add that.
You wanna add that?
just
Okay.
saying to include, their status of their service or
But have them
something
as
like
the
that.
one item together.
We could do
Yeah, we
that.
do that. I mean,
Sure.
we're leasing them and they say, well, tell us what you've been doing.
So discussion, possible action with an update.
Yes.
On service. Okay.
On the Village of Ruidoso Transportation Services.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you what the problem is, it's staffing.
Yeah.
That's what it's been, every time he
that's-
comes to give us an update, they just don't have the staffing.
And I verified that too, so it's tough. Any other discussion? So we'll have that on, regular. Item number 2,
Thanks, Anthony.
discussion on the amendment to Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the Village of Ruidoso and the County of Lincoln as the administrative authority for the Lincoln County Sheriff Office for driving while intoxicated, DWI, prevention, enforcement activities, and reimbursement of costs, increasing the amount to $6,000. Who do we have to represent
Mayor
that?
Pro Tem, members of the council, this here is for additional overtime funding for the DWI program. At the end of the fiscal year, the village reverted, I'm going to say about $58,000 back to the state for unused DWI funding. We were able to reapply for those funds. We were granted the funds, and a portion of the $58,000 was dedicated for entities with the DWI for overtime. So this is the county. They were able to spend some of the original funding that they had from the original grant, and this is just adding additional funding for overtime. So we've seen several other police departments that have reapplied for it, and we've brought it in front of council.
I'd say consent.
Yeah,
Consent?
consensus.
Yep.
Okay, it'll be on consent. Thank you. Item number 3, discussion on Village of Ruidoso artifact collection management policy.
Good morning, Mayor
Roberts.
Pro Tem, councilors. So this has been a long time coming. So this is the official policy that we're bringing to you to look at and potentially approve that will establish all the protocols necessary to start actually acquiring various artifacts, documents, images, whatever we might need or want. So the policy itself sets kind of forth exactly what we're going to be collecting. It's pretty broad, and we did that on purpose. It's essentially things that are associated with Ruidoso and regional history, and that'll be at the discretion eventually, or at the top of the council itself. So everything that we bring in will become official property of the village. So the policy itself it's not just the Wingfield House Heritage Center, although the Wingfield House Heritage Center, myself, the staff, will be the ones recommending things potentially to the committee, the Natural and Cultural History Committee, and then based on their recommendations, bringing it all the way to council for final approval before we actually accession these items. So the collection policy itself goes through all of that in terms of exactly what and how we would assess things and potentially accession them into the collection. And then the appendix, the last appendix, these are the actual forms that will be used to bring things into the collection. And these are actually generated for us by the collection software that we've decided to use, which is essentially the industry standard. They're kind of like the Adobe of the collection software. So it'll make things on our staff really easy when we bring them in. It goes through the entire process, how we do everything, and sets all the standards for how we move forward. So Probably the biggest thing is in terms of how we assess whether or not we're going to take something in. First of all, does it meet the collections policy in terms of what we want to collect? Second of all, and probably even more importantly, can we care for it? Can we take care of it? That's something that a lot of museums don't think about. Something really interesting comes along and they're like, we got to grab that. Well, we don't have a space for a Conestoga wagon. You know, and it's ethically, if we can't take care of it, we've got to be able to say, sorry, not now. So those are the kind of things we're going to be thinking about and bringing recommendations to you guys. So I don't know, Ron and Jenny, maybe you guys can help answer this. This is a policy that establishes these protocols and how we actually bring in this property. I'm not sure if this needs to be a resolution, if it needs to, how this needs to get into, how it needs to be codified to make sure that it's official, so.
I'll have our attorney reply to that, but I would say as long as it's a policy, we should be fine with it.
Okay. And Zach did look over the actual forms just to make sure that there was nothing, wrong with those, and he seemed to think they were perfectly fine. They're very simple for a reason. You don't want to hand somebody a mortgage document when they're trying to give you, something or loan something. We want to make it as simple but as legal as possible, so.
But for every item,
Every item.
you have to do,
Yes, but so Councilor Letterman, if, say somebody brings in say a group of items, say
Right.
a collection of pictures, right? They bring in 100 pictures. We're not gonna have to fill out a deed of gift for every single picture.
Oh, you're not?
We can fill out for the collection. We'll
Okay.
individually inventory them. They'll be inserted into our collections database individually. But in terms of the paperwork trail, we can list those all out.
Okay.
Or if someone brings a collection, the Wingfield collection, we can do the same thing where we can lump them into one deed of gift as long as it's all itemized, but for our purposes, they will be individually inventoried.
I thought maybe I better start writing.
Yeah, you are right.
That's what I thought about the software, what you said, so it could be like an attachment
Exactly.
to this, but
Exactly.
yet on the software, you have it itemized.
Absolutely. It'll have its
and
own
who
session
it
number, it'll be organized.
Donated or
Absolutely.
who it belongs to and stuff.
Any sort of restrictions, we tend to try to not take anything with any sort of restrictions, simply because, making promises to folks is not great, because you never know what's gonna happen. You
No.
never know if something can be on exhibit, things of that nature, and I've seen some families get pretty rightfully upset if someone made a promise to them they couldn't keep, so. Typically, we recommend that you donate or loan something with no restrictions on it.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. Because there's also, and it's in the management policy too, there is a possibility of deaccessioning something. If for whatever reason, I don't know, it becomes, we're unable to take care of it, or we find out that the provenance is questionable. Maybe it was, looted or something like that. There are situations, very few, where we would want to deaccession an item from the collection to dispose of it or something of that nature, so.
Okay.
So Tim, I have a question here, is, one is, in these forms where a deed of gift, and especially for temporary custody, will the policy, and I don't see it in the policy, it says that the village reserves the right to photograph, but I would think that it would be pretty much mandatory that a photograph is taken of each item and attached to it, so that we
Yes.
have a visual representation of what that product looked like when it came in.
Yes, I guess the only situation where that might not be allowed is there are certain cultural items that can be displayed but not taken like pictures of. So for instance, Kachina dolls and Hopi and Zuni traditions, they're okay with them being displayed, but they really don't like people taking pictures of them. Little things like that, but we can probably put something in there to.
Yeah, I just don't know how then, especially if it's, and with these that I'm seeing is you've got deed of gift, and the other is the temporary custody receipt, but that looks like it's for the purpose of considering to acquire it?
Yes.
What about items that are given to us on loan?
So that would be, there should be a separate loan. Yeah, there's an incoming loan agreement, so it should be attached, it's one of the last forms.
Oh, okay, I didn't scroll
So
down
there's
far
a
enough.
loan agreement, and the temporary custody receipt, that's even an internal thing. And a lot of museums don't do this, but I'm gonna ensure that we do this. So for instance, if we move something, or if something goes on exhibit, we fill this out internally so we know where it is. So if it's not in the if it's not sitting in its box or its file or what it needs to be in the collection, and it's on loan, or if it's at the library, or we're moving it to conservation, to do something else, we'll fill one of these out internally. So if anybody comes and asks, hey, where's my grandmother's shawl? We can say, oh, it's right here. It's being, conserved. We actually send it off to, a conservation lab in, Santa Fe to get work done on it. So this is also for our internal controls. But the biggest thing with the temporary custody receipt is if somebody brings something in, we don't keep it unless we have something like this. And I've seen numerous times where that's become a nightmare scenario that we don't want to get involved with. It's a very simple form. It takes 5 minutes to fill out. There's no reason that a staff member couldn't do it. We'll train our volunteers, everyone that works at the museum, not to take things unless this is filled out by one of the staff members. And somebody can always come back, so.
Yeah, I would just be concerned, like you said, some items, there might be reasons not to take photographs of it for whatever purpose, but a way to make sure that we document the condition of it when it comes in, because
Absolutely.
otherwise, even if it's a Kachina doll and it has some damage on it, they say, no, it was in perfect shape when it came in, you guys owe me, something because of that. So I think that would probably be something that needs to go through legal, and to make sure that we absolutely document the condition of every item.
Sure, and it's not attached here, but inside the database, every item that comes in does have a condition report associated with it. So we can print that out and I can get that to Zach so we can look at it. So we will have to do a condition assessment, and that'll accompany anything that we're asking to be accessioned, that will accompany in it. So there'll also be a condition report and a maintenance plan. So if it's something that is special, we'll bring that to you guys too and say, look, this is what the condition is, and this is how we can take care of it, so.
And is the condition report signed by both the person bringing the
Yes.
item and by
Yeah.
our staff at the
Yeah.
same time? Okay.
So they will have to sign off on it and say, yes, this is the condition that our staff says it is, because somebody could bring a baseball card in and say, it's in mint condition.
Right.
And in reality, it's in okay condition.
Correct.
We want to make sure that that's how we do it, so absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, Councilor Coughlin, I agree with the photos, and we'll be also reaching out to the New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund because they're going to be involved in that also.
Definitely,
So I'll make sure on that.
yep. So,
Oh, Tim, I had a couple questions there. I wonder if you could explain a little bit more of the teaching objects, and then also on the terms of the loan agreement, it says the objects may not be lent to a third party without the advance approval of the Village of Ruidoso. Does that also require the owner of the items?
it should, and we can add that in there. As part of the loan agreement, they would have to also agree to that temporary, say, third-party loan. So if it's not in there, I'll make sure that is in there, that should be. The education or teaching collection, so say somebody brings an item in that might not have a whole lot of intrinsic value, but they want to donate it to the museum without conditions. Say, I'm just thinking out loud, say a shovel or something like this, a historic shovel that we want to be able to take out to, say, schools or bring out and let people touch and things like that. We would have a separate collection within the collection for our teaching or educational items that would have certain or different restrictions on them. So say or somebody brings in a piece of clothing or a reproduction piece of clothing. It doesn't have any actual historical value, but we want to allow kids to be able to try it on or something like that. That's what would be in that collection. So it's a little bit different. It's stuff that we are okay with touching and getting out there and using in an educational format, not necessarily behind glass. So
Okay, thank you.
The house is looking good.
it looks great. Yeah, I'm excited. So we have all of the decorative lights are in, everything's in. They're making really good progress. Drywall is almost complete. So yeah, things are moving along.
Great. Any
And-
other questions for Tim?
Well, I mean, looking at some of these examples with the estimated values, and I don't want you to go into detail of it, but I'm sure you've got a security plan to make sure that these items are secured, so we don't have an instance like we had out in Lincoln where that Tommy gun ended up.
That happened right before I got there, and I heard about that every day I was there.
yeah.
So, yes, Counselor. So the plan also would be, again, just like with the condition report, if something came to us that, say, was of such a value or needed extra security and we could not provide it, then we would not take it. Or if it was something that, potentially we needed to work with another department to secure temporarily, like the police department or something like that, until we could provide the proper security, absolutely. That would definitely be part of the recommendations that we made to the council, is whether or not we can secure it properly, so.
Okay.
Any other?
I would say regular.
That's
just
what I
so
was
that we
gonna
can get this
suggest,
out to the
so-
public.
We can, advertise it more and keep everything moving.
I think the more we talk about how we accept items, you can't just go to Counselor Hooker and say, here's all my items, I want it placed in the Wingfield house.
Sure.
It has to go through a process, and I think we really need to be careful with that.
Sure, and, I think because the council is the final say on this, there's no reason that if somebody were to come to a counselor, then you could just, send them back down our way.
Sure.
So there's nothing, you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
can also recommend from that, way too, so.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure after this gets out there, you guys are gonna be stopped in the grocery store, and people are gonna be trying to hand you all kinds of stuff, so, yep.
Okay. Any other questions? No? So it'll be on regular.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Item number 4, discussion on resolution 2023-04, a resolution of support and commitment to the funding of the 2023-2024 NMDOT co-op funding program in the amount of $304,848.
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. This is our annual co-op that we put in for. This co-op in particular is for Innsbrook Village, and that is the mill of Innsbrook and pave of Innsbrook Village. With that.
Wait. So it won't be the gravel, it'll be milling it?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna mill it and pave it is the proposed for it. Yes,
Good.
sir. With that, the state would pay $228,636, which is 75% of it, and our 25% of that would be $76,212. And that's in-kind services.
I thought that we weren't going to be able to pave it until we got all of the infrastructure, the water and all that, the pipes and,
I kind of recall that because the meters are in the
Yeah.
driveways or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, Counselor Lutterman, going back to that, that's gonna take a lot to do the water lines. I know they have a lot of failing asphalt on their subdivision there on the Innsbrook, and we're trying to work with them to we're responsible for the park, for all that area there. It was back when it was all dedicated back to the village, so I don't know. I know that Adam said redoing all the water line removing the meters out of the adjacent areas, put them on a right of way, and it was a large sum of money to do that, so.
but we're going to go ahead and do this before that?
Yes, for right now,
Okay.
that is, because with that large sum of money, we don't know how far out that's
No.
actually gonna
Okay.
be to do that.
And it is bad.
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, Councilor Lutterman, yeah, it is in very bad shape, and even if we did some sort of just improvements to it, but this is the only way that when we visited with the management there was trying to apply for a grant for the whole area and then also include the Innsbrook Village, but that's just one of those situations where, we don't want to have to dig up the water lines again, that we never want to do that. But we'll more than, try to work and see what council recommends. We do have to have these applications in by March 15th to the
Yeah.
Department of Transportation, but that was just one way of trying to get some funding. that street department didn't have dedicated just to go and just do some improvements to their area.
Okay, so this is just improvements. We're not going to do all of the Innsbrook?
It'd be Innsbrook and the surrounding roads
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
With this, you know, the Innsbrook area will have Innsbrook Road and Metz and
Oh, okay.
that other roads in it as well. It won't be just,
And
you
when
know,
would
inside.
this happen?
What's that, ma'am?
When would this happen?
This is actually the 23-24. So if we
Okay.
put this in, then, it'll come in July.
Oh,
Is when
okay.
it would be, or actually the map, or the co-op would actually, it'd be, next, January.
Okay.
Because the co-op is actually the calendar year, and then the map is our fiscal year.
Okay,
So we put it in now, and we put it in a year in advance.
okay.
So Josh, on the map, you've got some streets in green and some like a blue color. It's the ones that are like Innsbrook and St. Moritz and Vienna Terrace, but Metz is a different color. So would Metz be done?
Yes, sir.
So then,
And that's, with the map, we haven't had a chance to, I was providing the map for you, for the council to view. We haven't had a chance to actually go back through, with Stephanie to get all of that, the same and get everything. I was just trying to get a map proposed to you. So everything that is on that map is proposed, you know, a mill, that lower part of Metz, and Innsbrook Road itself is in real bad shape. All that would be proposed, you know, mill and pave to the point, you know, if, on our part, once we hit the 25,000, and if anything, we could go through and do, updates to the road and get it, get it fixed, you know, the drainage and everything around the sides of it, go in, if we had to ourselves, for say on Metz or one of those, cut out the worst areas and pave it, you know, and get everything brought back up.
so for next week's meeting, could I ask that you update that map and indicate which streets would be included? Because, I don't know if it's just labeled for identification purposes, but Cedar Creek is labeled, Cream Meadows is labeled. So it's difficult to tell which streets would be included in the project
Yes,
with
sir.
this map that's on here.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
The resolution, I believe, defines exactly what streets are there, which is all in Innsbrook other than Metz. I didn't see Innsbrook
Alright.
Drive on there.
Innsbrook Drive should be on there, yes, sir, the one that comes across, and
Right.
then,
Oh, got it. Okay.
It's on there.
maybe, I might be confused too.
Yeah, well, I
It's
saw
on
Metz,
there,
but-
it's on there.
No, I
Okay,
didn't
but,
see the
I was
resolution.
thinking of the one that comes in front of the Texas Club there.
Yeah. I forget that.
That's not Riley Cove.
I believe that's Metz, I don't know. Right off the top,
It
I'd
could
have to
be.
look at the map, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, Councilor
Yes, sir.
Copeland, on the resolution that like Mayor Pro Tem Salas stated, the project area is on the resolution.
Right. Yeah, I see that now.
Yep.
So I know there's going to be some fallout when this gets out there, because there's been a lot of talk about the issues with our roads in town. And I know there's only so much you can do during the cold weather, so we have to wait for it. I would suggest that this go on regular.
Yes.
And then allow Josh to talk about what the plan is for doing all the other street repairs that are out there, to give something to the public. Because
I
there's a
agree
lot of
with
people
that.
that are making comments about the conditions of the roads, and some of them are pretty bad. But if you do anything right now, it's just gonna pop right back out.
Yes,
So it's
sir.
like putting a Band-Aid on and then jumping in a bath. It's gonna peel right off.
Yep.
So,
So we'll have item number 4 on regular as well, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, discussion on Resolution 2023-05, a resolution in support and commitment to the funding of the 2023-2024 New Mexico Department of Transportation NMDOT MAP funding program in the amount of $285,000, $285,300.
Yes, sir. There again, this is our annual MAP project that we put in for. This would be, we're putting in for Country Club Drive from Sudderth all the way through to Meacham Drive
Okay,
to redo Country Club. That is gonna be overlay. There is gonna be parts of it that are real bad that will go in, cut out, repave, and then we'll come back and overlay over the top of that to fix the bad areas and the failing areas that are in that. On that, our 25% is gonna be $71,325, and the state's would be $213,975.
well, you answer my question, is it starting from Sudderth or is it starting from Eagle? So, but
Yes, sir. With this, this is, it has to connect, with the MAP project, it has to
Okay.
connect a major thoroughfare to a major thoroughfare. Mainly here would be our state highways,
right,
so it has to connect into those.
okay, that's very good. That's very good. Any questions for Josh on this? What's the council's desire? I want to advertise it, so I was thinking regular
I think
again.
so.
I would say the
Just
same
to
thing.
say
We're on a
that-
roll. We won't have any consent items.
That'll be good. Well, we got one consent item, that
there you go.
DWI thing, so. But other than that, okay. So we'll put that, and then we're gonna be budgeting this in our budget cycle coming up, right? For,
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, yes, that'll be part of once if we are successful and we do receive the funding, they'll be budgeted.
right. Okay. Okay, thank you, Josh. Item number 6, discussion, and you know what, I forgot to mention that I recognized Councilor Jackson on the screen up there earlier, and we missed you on the roll call, Counselor, but
She got it.
No, we got it.
we got it? Okay, I wasn't paying attention then, but good to see you, Gary.
Good to see you.
So, item number 6, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso and Eastern New Mexico University, Ruidoso Branch Community College regarding the partnership to deliver certificate and degree programs. Yes, Cheryl.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We will have Ryan Trosper, President of ENMU, and Robin DeMott, the Chief External Affairs Officer, come in and do a presentation just on the village's partnership with them and the initiatives to bring in the CDL program, any other customized training that we need for our staff. And, they really want to push the Opportunity Scholarship for first-time degree-seeking student employees that are interested in going back, and grant opportunities. So they just want to bring in and present for everyone, and hopefully sign the MOU for the partnership, just moving forward.
That sounds really good.
So under the term of the MOU, it's effective November 1st of 2022.
So that is kind of when we
Started
kicked
talking.
off a lot of our initiatives. In fact, the CDL stuff, we've been in discussions a little bit prior to that.
And then it says the MOU may be renewed for subsequent 5-year terms upon written consent of both parties. So is that unlimited 5-year terms? Because there's nothing in there about how many 5-year renewals it can be. Typically, all of our contracts have a specified number of renewals that are allowed.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, we can definitely add that. I can get with Zach and get that wording in there if that's what you recommend.
Because otherwise, this can go forever, is the way I read it. And typically, we say we're going to do something for a set number of renewals,
Okay.
whether it be 4 or whatever.
Yes, sir, we'll get that adjusted. Any other questions?
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem Salas, Cheryl, this is Jackson up above, but not too far.
Oh,
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Is part of this also in the training to include an EMT program, basic and intermediate, or no?
Mayor Pro Tem Counselor, yes, I believe they'll be talking about that. Chief Kazabaski's been working on that with the NMU Ruidoso, but they should be bringing that in, into the presentation as well.
Thank you.
any other questions for Cheryl?
This is good.
So with Ryan approaching, it'll be a regular item.
Right.
So, thank you very much, Cheryl. Number 7, discussion on Resolution 2023-03, a resolution amending Personnel Policy, Chapters 13 through 17, Glossary of Terms, Appendix A, Acknowledgement of Receipt, Appendix B, Forms, Appendix C, Certification and Incentive Pay Plan, Appendix D, Manager's Standard Operation Procedures.
Mayor Pro Tem Council, this will be the final 5 chapters of the personnel policy rewrite. Yay! So Chapter 13, vehicle usage, 14 is the ADA policy, 15 is the drug and alcohol policy. Chapter 16 is miscellaneous. It covers smoking, weapons, cell phones, uniforms, things of that nature. And then Chapter 17 is our work rules. And then, of course, the glossary of terms. I apologize in advance. I probably will have to make a change on the resolution because actually Appendix A through D, we struck through those. Those are all internal procedures. And they're not changing. They're just coming off. So I probably need to remove that from this header here.
Okay,
And I can do that.
so they'll be removed by next,
Yes.
our meeting next week. God bless you.
Thank you.
Council have any questions?
I just don't know what I'm going to be doing with all my free time.
Oh, don't worry, you'll be on another committee soon.
He'll be in
So,
Florida.
no, there were a lot of people over a lot of time that put effort into this, so
That's-
it's
yes.
good to see it finally coming to the end.
After a year and a half.
A year and a half.
And Mayor Pro Tem Council, I do believe, I'll know once all the final edits are approved and put in, but I do believe we're going to shave off about 100 pages out of the 235 pages that were there, so it won't be as intimidating of a document and be a little
Right.
more clear, so.
Right.
135 pages is nothing, you know.
Well, there was so much redundancy,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
And there's a lot of legal stuff that's required in there to specify because, you know, like the mayor has even started calling me the worst employee ever. It just needs to be defined. Otherwise, there's plenty of room for various interpretations, whether they're correct or not. And, you know, you just need to make sure that it's covered. So I think it's good. We did it. We got it.
Thank you all.
And yes, thank you guys. So if I understand right, this is to schedule a public hearing because it's changing the ordinance? Or do we could just put it on
Mayor Pro Tem Salas, it's just by resolution.
by resolution?
Yes.
That's right. That's right. I keep forgetting I'm going there. I was going to suggest consent, but if we want to discuss more on it at the meeting, I'm open to that too. I just appreciate it being done. You know, one thing I was gonna ask you, Cheryl, was that, for our temporary, workers, do they get this same one, or do they get a revised, a shorter version of it, of our policies?
They do get this. This will apply, most of this will apply to them except the benefits
Okay.
that they're not eligible for as a part-time, or as a temporary.
Because I remember we did that way back for like the lifeguards and seasonal workers and stuff, but it just had like the sexual harassment policy and stuff, just like you said, but it was only like about 3 or 4 pages of stuff. But
Mayor Pro Tem Council, I think, I believe Parks and Rec has an orientation that they go through with their
Right.
temp employees.
and
when-
they sign off on it, right?
They do.
Okay,
They do
good.
sign off on that, and they sign up on this one as well. One thing we've wanted to do, and we'll probably, now that we have a little more time, is have this as kind of a guide for everyone, but for directors to use, and then just do an employee handbook that's a little more, that pulls out a little more of the, they also need to know the policy side of it, but it pulls out a little more of the stuff that they really want to know, and
Right.
they need to know as a first-time employee. So just another internal process that we'll develop.
Okay. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
Cheryl, I just had on the, just under the 15.3 employee assistance, it says that employees should report to work fit for duty and free of any adverse effects of illegal drugs or alcohol, blah, blah, blah. But I wonder, since, marijuana is legal in New Mexico, if that should be federally illegal drugs, or however the wording would be, since it would still be an impairment to the employees, because it doesn't delineate. They might think, well, marijuana's legal in New
Mayor Pro Tem
Mexico.
Council, we could add that wording in there if you, we are, we are a drug-free workplace, and because it's not legal federally, that they cannot be under the influence of that.
It'd just be that an employee might read that and say,
Sure.
well, it's legal in New Mexico, and just assume.
But I think with the language that is in here, it also includes prescription drugs. So any type of drug is covered, because some prescription drugs have adverse effects. And you're not supposed to operate heavy equipment or drive or whatnot. So by leaving it the way it is, it just covers all drugs in general, whether they're legal or not, or prescribed or not.
Yeah, and even if they have a medical marijuana card.
Well, just in that one section, you just said illegal, all the illegal drugs. But prescription, of course, is
15.3.
legal, unless, of course, you're stealing them.
Did Dina have something to say on that one?
What do you say, Zach?
Mayor Pro Tem Council, no, not specifically on that, other than we did discuss the medical marijuana and.
Yeah, we discussed that big time.
Yeah.
Well, but that paragraph also goes on. It says employees should report to work fit for duty and free of any adverse effects of illegal drugs or alcohol. This policy does not prohibit employees from the lawful use and possession of prescribed medications. Employees must, however, consult with their doctors about the medication's effect on their fitness for duty and ability to work safely. So I think that second part of that covers marijuana and everything else that there may be. Although,
Yeah, I just think we're just looking at it just to make it clear to the employee as they read the policy.
yeah,
They might not, for some reason.
well, and although reading it again, as you started to speak, Joe, it says illegal drugs or alcohol, and then it talks about prescribed medications. Marijuana is neither of those, because it's now just like a free-for-all. So it's almost in the same classification of alcohol.
But people still have medical marijuana
And it
cards.
could be prescribed. It could be, but not necessarily. It could be people that are doing it recreationally, which would be the same as alcohol. So there may need to be some type of edit in there, Cheryl, that includes, to include that, because otherwise their argument could be that this, it's not illegal, it's not alcohol, and it's not prescribed medication, so
Okay.
this doesn't cover it.
But
I think
that's,
the edit, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
the edit would be to strike illegal.
Yes, I think that would be the simple thing.
Okay.
And Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council, under the medical side of cannabis, those are signed off by a provider. So in that sense, they are a prescription item. Now, on the recreational side, no, that's a free-for-all. So there is that division. So it wouldn't be looked at any differently by the provider if it was a medication to prevent seizure, or if it was a prescription to allow the use of medical cannabis for any reason. But there are provisions within that side of it that you have to give a diagnosis.
Can you drive a vehicle, a village vehicle, if you are taking medication for seizures?
So the policy used to state that any kind of prescription drug like that would have to have a medical certification with it. Now it's going to put it back to the employee that it's their responsibility to ask the doctor how this is going to impair me driving if I drive for the village. And then bring that information to us.
Okay. I
Mayor
mean,
Pro-
all of this,
Councilor Letterman, Cheryl, actually from the physician side of it, the normal standard of care was that you be seizure-free of 1 year. It may be less now, but that at least you show a response to the therapy. And then you would be able to operate and maintain a vehicle, be it whether it's your private vehicle or it would be a village vehicle.
okay. I mean, that's exactly what we went through this whole time on this, is, I mean, one question led into another one. What if, well, okay, what about this? And so it was quite,
Mayor Pro Tem Council, I do want to add that we are striking through on the medical marijuana, if that makes any change. Because it's not legal federally. The village is going to maintain that we're a drug-free workplace, and we're not going to allow that, and that was recommended by our attorney.
okay.
In Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, going back to the question, if somebody is on some sort of medication, they get in an accident, a traffic, say in a vehicle, they're going to be drug tested. If they don't have prescriptions for those, for the medication they're on, they're in violation of the policy.
Right.
So.
Okay. Any other questions for Cheryl? Where would you like it placed on the agenda? I'm promoting consent, so
I would go for
majority wins.
I'll go with consent.
So would I.
There's just too many details to go over you'd have to read through everything, so.
Right.
It'll be in the agenda, and the employees will be getting a revised copy of it, so.
Do the directors have a chance to look at this before?
Some of them have, and I've spoken to several of them, but I haven't published it yet.
Okay,
No,
okay.
to anyone.
I think consent.
Consent will be, Madam Clerk.
Gotta have something there.
Yeah. And then I'm sure between now and next week, there'll be some other items added. So,
Do you have a proclamation?
Yes, we do. I wasn't part of the chair review, but my deputy clerk was, so she can provide some information to that.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, we do have a proclamation for environmental stewardship. And then we're going to have 2 board appointments to the Historical Culture Board. We're also going to have Robert Barber do a community emergency response team presentation. Joe has all the information for that. We have Tim Roberts is going to do a manager's report on special events upcoming, and also about getting the NM, New Mexico Municipal League Conference here. He's going to present on that also.
Oh, wow.
And then I don't know if we're going to have a rate analysis presentation. We are, okay. And that's all that I have extra.
There was talk about bringing back the microchipping ordinance. There was some cleanup of the language. Is that on there for scheduling for a public hearing?
Yes, sir, it is, Counselor.
Isn't there another public hearing?
Yes, sir. I believe it's on your copy there, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, yes.
The public hearing for vacation of a
Right
portion.
away on
of
236 Paradise Canyon Road, Lot 48, Block 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Any other questions or discussion or anything? Counselor Jackson?
No, sir, I stand at rest.
Great. Well, let's let it keep snowing and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Are we going to have a closed session next week?
Matthew, please. I only CC